Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, The New Powerpuff Girls, and Archer. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing the 19th episode of Miraculous Ladybug, Reflekta.
19th, really?
Yeah, already.
Wow.
Reflekta. We'll be discussing the original French version of this episode. We talk about Miraculous Ladybug every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast, and you can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. You can also subscribe to our Just Miraculous Ladybug feed on iTunes if you want. That link is on overlyanimated.com. So today we're discussing, Delaney and I originally were going through all the English dubs, now we're doing the French dubs, and I'm confirmed at this point that all the episodes are out in English as well as French. So what I want from you guys is what you'd prefer us to... I'm kind of neutral on this. I don't know what your thoughts are, Delaney, but whether you guys listening would rather have us talk about the last 6 or 7 episodes in English or French. I'd be fine with either, honestly. But yeah, I don't know if there'd be a strong opinion either way. I think I kind of like watching the show in French more, but...
I think I enjoy, I think in general it doesn't matter, but I do think watching it in French.
The benefit to watching the English dub is that it's an official,
Right.
the words that we are seeing are official from the show as opposed to like a fan sub.
We are hearing the actual dialogue.
Even though it's been translated, it's been translated by official people as opposed to fan subs, right? So that's the benefit. Anyway, let us know about that. But for now, we're discussing Reflekta in French. And let's get right into this, Delaney. What were your thoughts on this episode?
Okay, so probably until the last 5 minutes, I was like, I kind of hate this episode. And it's not really the episode's quality was poor. It was just oh my god, can we be nice to this poor girl for 5 minutes? It was horrible. Geez, Chloe, God. The premise of the episode was okay, we're taking pictures, all right, and Chloe is ridiculous. This is the epitome of Chloe being ridiculous. And I actually hated Chloe in this episode. She wasn't being funny or cute. She was being horrible.
Rude.
And they locked a girl in the bathroom.
Okay,
horrible.
Fair.
But it was also the villain. It was kind of oh, everyone just looks the same. Okay, we did this with Doctor Who and the Master, and it was much more intimidating than this. So I don't know. It was fun. Her design was interesting. I liked it. Also, yay, Julika. We like her. We've been obsessed with her for a few episodes, and we're where is she?
Yeah.
When is she going to be a villain? Overall, the last few minutes kind of redeemed me being upset at the entire time watching the episode. But again, that's not really quality wise. It's just wow, this is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
One thumb up.
One thumb up. Wow, that's so 50%.
Not okay.
No, I understand.
We can up it to 75, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I think this was the worst episode that we've had in quite a little bit. It wasn't bad. It was just
it wasn't actively bad. It was just
I don't even think it was actively bad or just bad. I just think it was kind of unexciting. Compare it to we've had Puppeteer, Antibug, Anuman, Gamer. I guess you have to go back to Kung Fu to find an episode whose structure isn't super interesting like this episode was, because from we've had a solid 5 episodes in a row that have each had a unique take on the Ladybug stereotypical structure, but this episode completely played it for straight, and it was and the problem was it did it with a fairly unexciting villain and a fairly unexciting human plot. So overall, there's kind of just nothing here to be super excited about other than Julika being able to finally do stuff. But that's not really enough, I think.
Also, they do, sometimes we have, the moral of the week, and it's Chloe was honestly being horrendous in this episode, and, she's just not in the picture,
yeah.
Really?
I guess I personally don't care that much about, the moral from the show, but I can see
I don't,
be frustrating.
I don't either, but it's frustrating when we have stupid morals for Marinette, and then Chloe is like a horrible person, and then like
That's true. Yeah, Chloe seems to get off easy here.
That's what's irritating to me. It's like we have stupid ones like Marinette doesn't listen, and then Chloe literally gets her little crony to lock this girl in the bathroom so she can stand next to Adrian in the class photo. Like, really? Are you serious?
The
right
Chloe
now?
with Adrian stuff was pretty absurd. We'll talk about that. But
What?
so I think so I think that this episode has three things that make it one of the bottom tier episodes of the show. Number one is it does nothing unique. So the structure is completely typical. There's nothing really unique about the villain or about anything that happens. The only kind of unique thing that happens is that Cat gets turned very quickly,
which is pretty funny.
And I guess there's like the final action sequence is uniquely shot and like directed. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
camera and all
yeah.
stuff.
So I think that like that's probably the highlight of the episode is that sequence in the dark with the camera. But like episode structure wise, that's just typical. So that's number one. Number two is that Julek is a pretty unexciting villain in this.
Yep.
Like compared to a lot of times we talk about how the villains are like super overpowered. I think that Reflekta is like super underpowered because she only can do one
she
thing.
Can throw things, and that's about it.
She can literally just shoot one beam from her wrist, and it's like Marinette just can't get around that for some reason. It's like just go behind her and then problem solved. But no, there's this one scene with Marinette just trying to throw her yo-yo at her and just getting it reflected by the beam. Just like stop going at her like head on.
Right.
Clearly that's bad. And then I'd say number three is that the human interactions or like the non-superhero parts. I want to call these like the IRL parts of the episode.
IRL.
I don't know what the official terminology is. But
I think it's fair. IRL parts.
IRL parts, which are usually my favorite parts of the show, were pretty. They're very slow. Like we spent a solid 6 minutes in the beginning of the episode just on this picture thing.
Which it's funny when you think about it, and like the concept of taking class photos. That this is like equivalent to how long it takes.
Okay, true, but I don't think the goal should be to represent realistically the class photo.
We shouldn't have class photo meta.
Yeah,
but
it took a while. It wasn't doing anything super exciting. There were no interactions that I particularly thought were interesting. We took this character who had a lot of promise in Juleka and boiled her down into some very stereotypical teen plot, which was fairly unfulfilling for her character. And I just think overall it really just didn't execute well, the IRL
also, like,
parts.
Just this idea of like the photos, like I'm cursed. Like really?
Oh, you're mocking the curses, the idea of curses.
Well, it's just such a stupid like
Pretty
idea
stupid.
for a villain.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I think the general concept of Juleka wants to be noticed, so she turns everyone to look like her. I think that itself is interesting. Everything else around it is like kind of boring, though.
Exactly. Like, well, because the thing is, like, the whole like for me, it was like the mechanism of it was what was frustrating because it was like pictures, and I'm like, we could have done this in a more interesting fashion.
Yeah, it's usually our IRL parts are so jam packed with like interesting character interactions between our main two and then all the other interesting classmates, and here it's just painstakingly slow about taking the picture and like looking, Juleka's not here and why are we going to take the picture anyway, and it's probably the most uninteresting the show's been for me in a while, like probably since like Anuman and the context of the villain that was also kind of similarly uninteresting. What else recently? The superhero parts of Kung Fu were similarly uninteresting to me. Yeah, stuff like that. So I think that's up there. But yeah, I don't know. There's not and I guess a fourth reason why the episode doesn't turn out that well is there's nothing that stands out to me as what am I gonna look back on this episode and think like, wow, this episode had really great Marinette and Adrian moments? Nope. This episode had like really great Alia Marinette moments? No. It had like, you know, like there's nothing. There's like only one interesting kind of general thing I want to talk about with you, and usually I have like 5 things. Like there's only one thing that's kind of there. So and we'll get to that, but I guess we could talk about it now, but like because it's like the highlight for me. But it's just I don't know. Can you think of anything particular that stands out to you from the episode that I'm missing?
I mean, for me, it was just like Cat Noir like somehow was like less irritating than he typically is. Like,
Yes.
And it was pretty good.
Okay.
That's the thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so that's my one thing. It's related.
Yeah.
My one thing is that
we have the same brain. I don't know why I thought that we were going to talk about the same.
It's not exactly the same, but yeah. So okay, so the most notable structural things that this episode does is turn Cat Noir into Reflekta very early on. And to me, this manifested in kind of a unique way in how Marinette reacted to him. So I actually think that, I mean, he was kind of similarly himself. I think he definitely came across more sympathetically. He wasn't the parts that we get annoyed by Cat Noir at, maybe him being too forward and like physical in a way which is intrusive. He didn't really do that much of that stuff here, so he was definitely more sympathetic in that regard. But Marinette like disproportionately reacted much more favorably to him, as in my view, as when he was Reflekta. Like I think she was just smiling at his like jokes and going along with it, and like she seemed she was like, to me she seemed like much less uncomfortable with him, much less kind of quote unquote threatened by anything involving him, because he's kind of in this harmless state.
Yep.
So I think that's super interesting, because what it is, this kind of gives us insight into like what is it about Cat Noir that Marinette intrinsically finds like unappealing, or on some levels threatening. Is it just like his appearance? Is it the fact that he has an equal powers to him? So if you so if you strip that down, then that goes away. What is it here? What can we take away from this?
I think it might have also been like Cat Noir was being like, I mean, himself, but at the same time, he wasn't himself, so like he probably wasn't as forward and stuff because he's like uncomfortable, because he's not like, he doesn't look like himself.
Right.
So I wonder if that also like since he wasn't being as much out there as he was, so that probably was part of it too.
So I think it's definitely part of it that he's not being as out as like forward, but I also think that like Marinette, like I said, disproportionately reacted much more favorably beyond that. So I think that maybe,
I wonder if there's, I don't know if it was, I mean, there is some element of sympathy on her part. Like she's like, "LOL, you got turned into Reflekta."
Okay, that could be one thing, is that she's feeling sympathetic towards him because he's is negatively affected by the villain. I think an obvious conclusion to draw would be that maybe she's just not sympathetic to the way he looks as Cat Noir.
That possibly.
And, yeah, I mean, he looks different, and then she's more sympathetic to him. And a third thing could, I think like potentially the most interesting conclusion to draw would be that she has kind of this preconceived notion set in her brain. Cat Noir, I have this like schema of Cat Noir in my head, and he is this like unsympathetic kind of not guy that I don't want, like this too forward guy who maybe he pretends to like me, but he's not. He's not good for me. And the schema can be broken if you change his appearance. So maybe it's not actually that she reacts negatively to what he does, but that she just she just has it set in her brain that Adrian good, Cat Noir bad, and take away some of the elements of what makes Cat Noir, and then that schema breaks down.
Possibly.
So I mean, you can this kind of absolves Adrian for some of his behavior towards Marinette, which I think is genuinely troubling. At the same time, the scheme, it could be legitimate. Like it could be based on things that happened that make her just not like Cat Noir. It's not like anything he's done has been unforgivable, but it's like he's somewhat of a slight jerk towards her sometimes, especially early on. It's been better recently, but so that she's going to have it just set in her head, and it's hard for her to change that view, even if she knows him better now and she's more friendly with him. And a lot of times their interactions are very good, but she still can't break that earlier preconceived notion.
Well, it's kind of just difficult to, I don't know, for me it's difficult to unpack, because it's like I almost can't even like, why did I like him more in this episode? Like it just looking at him, he seemed less threatening.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not. It's not even like he looks threatening. Like he's a black cat with a bell around his neck. Like I'm really not threatened by Cat Noir. But like, and granted, it's also like he got turned into a girl, and
yes.
Growing up as a girl, like you're more. I mean, yes, sometimes you grow up and you have more guy friends than girlfriends. But then like you, in general, like you're more, particularly as a girl, you're more comfortable with other girls. Speaking of which, this episode was super gay. Like, I'm 85% sure Julica and is it Rose or Rosa are a
Rose,
thing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
quite
That's
confident.
definitely something to talk about. But no, I think you had an interesting point. That was the next thing I want to talk about. I think there's a big patriarchal element to this, which is compare Marinette's interactions to Alia to her interactions with Cat Noir,
Right.
and this is pretty typical, I think, of girls, I guess, across the world because the show is not in the United States, where there's just something so like society is naturally kind of hostile towards girls and women, especially coming from males. So you're naturally going to be repulsed by any forwardness or inherently skeptical of it. Whereas you see Marinette interacting with Alia, and she's much more. And of course, it's like different people, so it's different
Right.
situations. But with Alia, she's going to be not have that element to her, so she's just very open, and there's no like emotional barrier, which is like which society necessitates that you put up against male figures just because of how society treats females. And I think that's definitely a big interaction with Cat Noir because he's so forward, and that's naturally something she's going to push back against just because of or she's not going to like there's no way she's going to be as open as she does with Alia just because of how
Right.
she's conditioned to. So when you break down the inherent maleness of Cat Noir and put him in this female figure, I think that that element in Marinette's mind could go away a little bit.
And he's like, I mean, it's just like less. I mean, I'm gonna say threatening. He's not threatening as Cat Noir, but like in like from a society standpoint and as like from being like a young girl, like he's threatening. So like it downplays it, and it
And it's
just
not like that he's as Reflekta, he's less threatening power wise. He's potentially even
right,
more powerful. Well, I guess he can't turn people, right? I don't know. The
right.
Reflekta clones, I don't think so. Um,
No,
but it's not that. It's just the perception. Like, it's just
right.
something that is ingrained into females from like by necessity, like like not their choice. It's just what happens based off of this patriarchal society. So he does seem less threatening to Marinette because that element goes away. I think that's a big part of it.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, I know I'm like, oh, can Cat Noir stay like this?
yeah.
This is good, good stuff.
I mean, it's yeah, he definitely seemed much more sympathetic from.
Also, he was like, in comparison to some of the other characters who are guys and got turned into girls, like they were like, I don't want to be a woman for the rest of my life. He like, he was like, ugh, these like, I mean, they made like jokes about heels, which one, they aren't heels. They're like wearing wedges slash platform shoes, like incorrect footwear. You're wrong, just so you know.
Could have been
And
the subtitles, but yeah.
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But granted, it's pretty typical to make like heels jokes, like, oh, okay, turn to a woman,
I
heels.
probably said heels in the outline. I didn't know what to call them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like platform slash
Mm-hmm.
wedges, like
Okay.
more wedges than anyway. That's not important, but he didn't he just embraced it like which is so funny because like there is that part where he's like, don't you recognize my charisma and blah blah blah, and like you could like even when he got turned to a woman he wasn't like, oh, I'm a woman. He was like, yep, I'm Cat Noir, I'm just gonna walk around, which I kind of respected. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed that. He didn't become very annoying when he got turned into a girl, which I appreciated immensely.
I agree with that. It's like compare it to like, the mayor or whoever's reaction, which is like, I don't want to be a girl for the rest of my life, right? Like it was pretty. I was kind of annoyed at that, but also I feel like that is probably a natural reaction you'd see from most
Yeah, it
people
is
in this
like
situation,
yeah. Well, I
which
mean,
is
it's just like even if
unfortunate, but
right. Even you'd have a similar comment if, like, let's say it wasn't Julica, it was one of the male classmates, and this happened. Like, there probably would have like Chloe would have been like, "Oh, I don't want to be a boy," and it's like,
I think that
fair
you would have
enough.
seen a lot less of that. Like I think that's definitely more of a
No, no,
male
it would
perception
have been,
of negative femininity type
yeah.
thing.
No, and that's why I said specifically Chloe. It would have just been a Chloe line, which is why it would have been brushed off because it would have been
Mm,
a Chloe line. Like in general, yeah, no, it would have been much less. But granted, we're also dealing with like middle schoolers,
yeah.
so.
So it's not the best of society. Yeah. Um, so that's interesting. Let us know. Maybe we'll come back to this as we go, but let us know what you think of this. Like, what is it about? What can we surmise about Marinette's perceptions of Cat Noir from this? And if you're like, let's go through the outline because I need to also bring up the evidence that she thought this. Maybe we'll,
Yeah.
if you're unconvinced that she reacted more sympathetically. Hopefully, I'll be able to provide evidence as we go through that line. Okay, so we had the whole thing in the beginning with the class photo. Yeah, Julika's cursed. She says, later we have this short blonde girl who's friends with Julika. We later learned is named Rose. I don't think we knew that from previously in the show.
I know. I know we've heard her name before.
Okay, I don't remember it, but yeah.
I mean, it's been forever.
She's been in the show, so
yeah, you've seen her before.
Yeah. And there's some, yeah, we need to figure out the Julika Rose. I'm sure it exists, ship name, but
it's canon.
Hey, Rugrats, try not to suck your thumbs in the photo, said Chloe about the short people.
Like, what planet does Chloe live on? Like, where does she exist? Like, I don't understand.
Chloe, here's the thing. Chloe's just like outwardly mad that she's not getting to stand next to Adrian, and she's saying it in front of everyone. Like, what?
He doesn't care, and Adrian's just like, whatever, you're crazy.
And
like,
just everyone's aware of this. That
like, it's so funny. Like, I do enjoy, like, they play Chloe like it's such a really interesting way because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
I like the part where there's they're trying to figure out where the giant kid should go in the class, and they just move him around because of that. I don't know if we know the giant kid's name, but I think that's interesting. Yeah, too far from everyone, Chloe says in front of everybody. Then Sabrina locks her in the bathroom with the random chair that's in the bathroom, which I didn't really understand why there's a random chair.
I don't really know why it was.
Maybe that's a French thing. I don't know. But who's Julika? Julika, the tall one with the purple streak, says Marinette. My poor Julika, says Rose.
I
mean, it's better. Yeah, we'll get to the bigger moment.
Oh yeah, no, there's a better moment, and it's quality.
No one sees or listens to me. I'm straight up invisible, says Julika. As long as there are Chloes, there will never be any room for girls like me. As long as there are Chloes. That's interesting. Chloe definitely is an archetype, so I agree.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Rose, forget me, she says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Like what?
Hawk Moth, give this invisible voice a soul so she'll really be noticed. Marinette like sneaking into the room to delete all that stuff.
How much of a punk Hawk Moth is. Like, he just preys on these people's like emotions. Like, how
I think we've established this last episode when he literally akumatized a child. So
he's the worst. Like,
by the way, a lot of continued debate about our claims of why isn't Hawk Moth akumatizing more people? Why aren't all those people more powerful? And there's some pushback on he is akumatizing more people. But I'm vaguely aware of things to come that might be related to that. So we'll table this discussion until we have all the info.
Well, we can also. I mean, we're theoretically like when you like. I mean, okay, one like sure maybe there's an escalation we're not aware of yet, or that you're aware of, but I don't know.
Basically, the episode Pharaoh kind of hinted at the presence of more Kwamis. I think that's the name.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the last 6 episodes will at least hint at there being non Tikki and Plag Kwamis, which we have not interacted with yet. So it's possible this stuff is happening in the background and we don't know it.
I'm also aware of what you're talking about.
So we won't. I'm vaguely aware that this will be addressed, but I just don't know the details.
I don't know the details.
Just the fact that there are more Kwamis does not validate like Hawk Moth. He's not. Even if he's like sending out 1 more per day and a different Kwami's dealing with that, then it's still like, why isn't he sending out 3 per day? Like, we'll address this like once. Yeah, we can't talk about it yet. So
I do have something I can say like on this is that like, for example, like, so this is a superhero show. It is kind of safe to assume that we're not seeing everything. For like, you're watching a show like Supergirl, things that we don't have a timeline, like we're maybe seeing them only every 3 weeks. You see things that are like important, like, that's, I mean, you always assume with superheroes that they're always saving people. So like, that's kind of, I understand the pushback even just on that mere concept because superheroes are always saving people. So I think that's fair. That's fair.
I'm interested to see if it's just like Marinette's only dealing with the villains near her, which would make sense, like, as to why we're only getting the people who akumatized in her school.
And they're also literally like right next to her all the time.
But the problem is that there's some random villains that are just like somewhere in Paris. So I think the logic breaks down a little bit in that regard. It's like, why is
Paris is a big place? Like Paris isn't a small city.
Because most of our ones are just things that are right near next to Marinette, but there are a few that are not. Like there's just some random people.
Granted, Marinette does clearly live in the center of Paris, and so like it's kind of understandable like what's going on. Also, we're literally always around the Eiffel Tower, so like,
which is
always.
Are there more Guamis in Paris?
Okay, we need to start doing like I'm pretty sure we see the Eiffel Tower in every episode, and we need to like keep track. Like it's getting ridiculous.
It is a little ridiculous. Yeah.
Like we get it. We're in Paris. I understand. I can be in Paris and not see the Eiffel Tower. Like,
are you sure? I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I mean, if you're actually in Paris, I think you can see the Eiffel Tower everywhere you are in Paris. But like, I mean, like we can be watching the show.
That cannot be.
And I won't forget that we're in Paris.
There's no way that's true. But okay, yeah, I think that's no. I mean,
Eiffel Tower is pretty tall. But there's probably like there might like.
I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. This is not. Well, you can.
I want to conduct research and bring up my findings in the next podcast.
It becomes Reflekta, Marinette stealing the photo. Tikki, interesting Tikki moments this episode. Tikki, I refuse to be your accomplice, she says about Marinette stealing the photo. So, okay. Okay, like, why does Tikki care about, like, Tikki definitely seems to be, the show is claiming that she's, like, moral.
A mentor, like.
But why does she care about, she's not like, I'm not gonna do this. Well, it's not even a mentor thing, because she's not like, I'm not gonna do this with you, Marinette. I'm not gonna let you do this. She's just like, I'm out. Like, you can do this if you want, but.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, this is the truly terrifying thing that we don't know yet. Can Tikki physically stop Marinette from doing anything? My thinking is no, but she's also like this immortal, like eternal being. So for all we know, she can.
So
she chooses to.
I mean, based on the show's logic, I think she could force Marinette to transform. I think that.
Oh my God! What if Jesus? This is getting scary. What if there's an episode where Tikki just? Oh wow! I'm getting really upset.
That would be the only power I think Tikki would have. I don't think Tikki can just like control Marinette as Marinette, or not even. I don't think Tikki can control Marinette as Ladybug either. I do think like the transforming is all about Tikki just doing something though.
Well, I do know. What if she could control
as Ladybug or as Marinette?
As Ladybug, she could control.
It's possible.
Her. Like,
I mean, she's like wearing her, so. Wearing Tikki. I mean, that's kind of how it works, I think.
The way I know that's how it works, but like when you say it like that, I get really icky. We're not going to say it again.
Wearing her. Yeah.
Stop. God, it's like so many like.
So why does Tikki just care about like societal morals, especially if she's an eternal being? You think she'd be above those? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, it's better than Plog, who only cares about cheese, I
mean, I know I make jokes about Tikki. I genuinely think Tikki's like what we see from Tikki doesn't really make sense. Like again, like I refuse to be her accomplice. It's not like she's trying to be a mentor to Marinette, although she does seem to care about that. I don't really think like a being like Tikki caring about the good and bad of stealing something makes that much sense. Like I think that these are highly specific things to our society, and she's lived through multiple of them. So I think that, in theory, we don't really know how old she is. But yeah, I think there's something. I know we make jokes. I do genuinely hope there's more revealed about Tikki to help understand her better, because she's not the most sensical character at the moment.
She's like this floating, all-powerful, eternal being, and then she like says really weird things, and it's like, what are you, Tikki? Like,
yeah,
what's your angle, Tikki? I don't understand.
Everybody would look like me or Totes gonna rock it, says Julica, which I assume is a fan sub thing, but I'm
fine with it.
I'm all about saying Totes.
Yeah, Totes is a wonderful word.
Again, we have another villain obsessed with just finding and doing bad things to Chloe. I feel like we've had like 5 of these at this point, but
I mean, when you think about it, Chloe's the reason we have a lot of these villains.
It's true.
When you think about it, it's kind of Chloe's fault.
We have interestingly in the beginning, like towards the beginning of the superhero part, we have Cat going on his own and doing stuff, but then it's like he's about to do Cataclysm and he's turned right away, which is kind of interesting.
Yes. Also, I enjoyed how he was just gonna like break all the lockers when he could have just picked them up and threw them away.
Cataclysm.
And he still could have done that after being transformed.
One reason I probably prefer watching the show in French is that it makes the boring powers section somewhat watchable to hear like Cataclysm and Lucky Cha instead of. It's kind of more interesting.
Also, the theme song is the best in French, so.
I mean, it's not a K-pop number, so
I mean,
it doesn't
you're
have
not
that.
wrong.
Hawk Moth gets mad that she didn't take the Miraculous before transforming him, which is like kind of an interesting concept.
Which is also like that's really funny. He's like, "Oh, you idiot!" And it was also like, "Yeah, she probably should have done that." I kind of feel Hawk Moth.
I feel like that's a weird thing. It felt like a weird thing for the show to just be outwardly saying a few times.
Well,
I don't know.
it's
They didn't really do
also
anything with it. They just kind of said it, and it's like now
well, it's
this time
also
you have to take it before you transform Ladybug.
well, I also thought it was interesting because it was like, when he changed back, I was like, what if he had changed back into Adrian?
Oh,
Like would
that's true. I mean, I guess that I don't know.
and he was like, my ring. Like he had no, like he could have like, he wouldn't have any idea if he had transformed. Could he have transformed
I
back
think
while
I
he
think
was stuck?
I don't know, but it would he did use or was about to use Cataclysm, so it would have made sense
No,
if he ran
so it
out.
was
Yeah,
running down.
yeah.
But then at the end of the episode, it wasn't his blinking out;
It
it was
was
Marinette.
Marinette's. Yeah, I did think that was somewhat of a breakdown in logic. I mean, you can justify it by saying the transformation like kind of pauses it, but
Which that makes sense. That I would buy that. That would be okay.
which I think is, I guess, what they're saying. But it did seem like they just stopped. It did seem like the episode didn't even consider it, and they just moved on.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't remember what to say about that. But phone, they like resolve it or something, and oh yeah, turns Chloe. Okay, looks super happy to transform. Tikki looks super. Okay, this is something I wanted to point out is that Marinette's like, we have to become Ladybug now, and I feel like Tikki was like smiling a lot during this, and I don't know if I've noticed that before. Why is Tikki so happy to transform into Ladybug? Is this like something I've missed, or is this something specific to this episode?
I mean, I feel like in general, I mean, just in comparison to Plog, like Tikki like likes being Ladybug and like actively likes Marinette, and then there's Plog who just eats cheese and is like, "Oh my god, we have to transform, really?"
She's like
So
smiling a lot though, so I don't know.
it's Tikki. I don't know. I mean, Tikki clearly she like cares for Marinette in her weird Tikki way.
Yeah.
So
Oh no! Oh, this episode notable for having no issues with identification for super
correct.
identification. We justify it immediately by Julika just saying like you locked me in the bathroom or something, so Marinette just like knows that it's her. And also we just had no kind of close calls between Cat and Ladybug. So
it was fun.
yeah, I mean I guess nothing to complain about though, so that's not fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Cat struggling with the platforms. Yeah, I did say Hills now on. Ring, yeah, with the sequence of the ring blasting, deflecting Marinette's yo-yo. Marinette laughing at Cat. You'll slow me down, he says, but I have ideas. This whole thing with the TV studio and like they tell everyone to put on the thing, but it's really just to draw her there was kind of uninteresting to me.
yeah. Well, I just thought like about something that was neat with Cat was that he was more expressive with like he talked with his hands a lot more than he normally does.
Interesting.
Which I think I was like I wonder if it was like some sort of like compensation for the fact that he didn't look like himself.
Yeah, that could be. I think that
Like,
thing
the
that
whole,
makes
like,
sense.
him tapping in his head when he's like ideas like I don't feel like he like normally does that. Like he's not really like he's like when he touches Ladybug a lot, but he doesn't really like talk with his hands a lot. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Marinette laughing at Cat would be evidence number one towards the more sympathetic thing. There's another one later.
She's like, and they're also like standing like closer to each other, and
that's
like
possible,
she's not
yeah.
like get away from me.
They have their hands on each other a lot too, and she and she seems
there's a
okay
lot of
with it.
casual contact in this episode.
Yeah, and neither of them are like making a big deal out of it. There's just like a minute sequence of him just going around Paris, just transforming or her just transforming random tourists, and it's like I guess we needed to fill time, but that was this episode did seem like it was not eager to pack content in.
No.
The beginning sequence is super slow. Then we had this one. Put on costumes. Ladybug just revealed her secret plan. High five. Said I don't know who high fived, but. Real plan is to get her at the studio. So Adrian kisses her on the hand, right?
Yes.
And she's
which
like
was cute and like not annoying.
And she just doesn't care. Like she didn't seem repulsed, I don't think.
Oh.
So
he was kind of being like not ridiculous. Like it was kind of sweet. Like good job.
So there's the evidence again. Just Marinette's reaction in this part of the episode is what I mean. So if you're unconvinced, watch that part, I guess. not the real one. It was the mayor. Definitely seems more into Cat as Reflekta, I noted here. Yeah. Yeah, he says use your power. Yeah, that's weird. Like he's not, I don't know if he's ever said that before. Just use Lucky Charm. Like we're late enough in the
Right.
episode. The director
And
told
then
him
he
you can
says
use
use your power, like
yeah.
instead of like Lucky Charm, like what? Okay.
Like as she
Use
doesn't
your
pretending
power,
she
okay.
doesn't shout it every episode.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, that's we know. It's why.
Lucky Charm. Yeah.
I kind of enjoy that though, because like that's what's so funny about like watching shows like Power Rangers and stuff. It's like really we're like we literally scream this every episode, but like we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know.
LOL.
Camera, and then this cool using the flash to blind her scene in the dark. And then she just like is like, nope, I have the ring already, and then she crushed it. So yeah, I guess the last 5 minutes or so are definitely the highlight of the episode.
The last 5 minutes are pretty solid.
Marinette giving stuff back to everyone. Asked for a photo in the park. Adrian's like, that was a good idea, Marinette. Photo in the park, and she's like, yeah, typical. The photo curses over. We had did I not write down or did I just skip over it, the Rose and Julika part? Because that
I
was
think
earlier.
we skipped over it because
Yeah,
they're
because she
like
goes to get
they're
her
thing.
from the bathroom, right? And then just
Yeah.
from memory. And what does she do? I don't remember.
Well, it's the bathroom, and then there's like what else? I don't. They're
Oh, she
just
says
always
like my
next to
poor
each other.
Julika. I guess that was that part, and then she like
Yeah,
is
my poor
hugging her
Julika, and they're
sister.
like
And then at the
they
end,
just stand really close to each other.
at the end in the photos, she's like leaning on her too.
Yeah. Well, and then in the other pictures they showed before of like her being cursed, they have like their arms around each other and stuff. Like they gay.
Yeah, I'm shipping Rose and Julika. So what's their ship name? I assume the Phantom has this already, but um,
Okay, their names are hard to put together. This is difficult.
Rulika, uh,
I like Rulika.
uh, Julos,
No,
Joes, Jew.
Joe.
I
There's
don't know.
there's
Rulika, I
no.
guess, would be the only one, right?
Yeah, Rulika I think is
I don't
it
know. Let us
because
know if
the
there's a
rest
ship
would
name.
be good.
And then
Yeah.
they ended with these photos instead of their typical ending shot, which I thought was kind of interesting. They like didn't do their their weird thing at the end.
Also, it was nice. They did like also Marinette like being like, we want to have our picture taken by the best photographer. Blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah. Like, good job, Marinette.
good,
A
good
plus.
approach.
Also,
Males
he was like
males in
really
society
funny.
like being fawned upon, and that's how you get things.
Yes, they do. Good
That's
job,
how it
Marinette.
works. There you go.
Also, he was like funny. Like he was rude to Chloe literally the entire time.
He was, yeah. Finally, one person wasn't having it from Chloe. Okay, screenshot selection time. There
What
were
is this first picture? What is she doing?
there were not many great contenders this time, but yeah,
What is
what
what?
when Marinette says Julika, the tall one with the purple streak, she like has her one hand like imitating the streak, and then
Like,
another hand imitating her being tall, and she looks ridiculous.
no, it's like this is the crane that
Yeah.
you're in a kung fu pose right now. Like, what are you doing?
Number 2 is just Reflekta the first when she's transformed. Um,
Oh, see a contender right here at number 3.
Number 3 is Marinette looking super adorbs with Tikki when hiding from Chloe in the principal's office, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Marinette as Ladybug looking awesome.
Yeah, looking cute
Yeah.
as per usual.
Number 5 is Marinette again as Ladybug in front of like the camera. I don't know what she's gesturing here. I guess all. That's that gesture.
Yeah.
Number 6 is our shipping screenshot of Adrian being like, "That's an awesome idea, Marinette," and then their faces are kind of close and they're looking at each other. That could be the winner. And then the last one is really good, which is one of the last pictures of Julika, Rose, and Marinette for some reason in one picture.
I'm feeling number 3. Marinette's looking too cute.
I know, but okay, so here, let's go through the content. No, not number 1.
Even though number 1 is hilarious, it's not a contender.
So number 3 is your favorite Marinette one of the 3.
Yeah, number 3 is pretty good.
What? So I think it's 3, 4, 3, or the last 2.
Yeah, I mean, the Adrian and Marinette one's like fine. It's not like the best shippy one.
Yeah, they're just looking at each other. It's not that's not that good. It was a good moment though. Neither of them are like super embarrassed. Marinette's about to be embarrassed in a second after this happens, but for this one frame, she was not. Yeah. And I do really like this picture. Marinette in this last picture. Marinette looked pretty awkward, which is like the first time
But
in
what is she
history.
doing?
It's like the first time in the history of the world that she looks awkward. But
Okay, that's okay, Dylan. That's not true. Marinette is such an awkward,
she does awkward things because she doesn't have like tons of confidence. But here it's like she just
looks really awkward.
Like I feel like incidental awkwardness from her, which I feel like is rare in this show.
This is just like, what does she do? It's like she was like, I want to be in this picture, but I don't know what to do.
Sure, I don't know.
Does she know how to be silly? Does Marinette know how?
Rock on. That's like what she's doing.
Like, what is she doing? Number 3 is so good. Like, she's so cute. Look at her.
I mean, but Tikki's there, so I don't know about that.
But only Marinette can look so adorable while cowering behind a desk. Like,
yeah, but she's like smiling, so I don't know. Okay, we'll decide. Probably 3, but maybe it'll be. I mean, you guys already know. So this is like the dumbest.
Y'all don't get to argue.
You already know what it is. Again, as always, you can request these in the comment section if you want to see any of them. So Marinette being a dork. I mean, the last one's obvious, like from the episode.
Yeah.
All right. Last comments on Reflekta, Delaney.
It was like, it wasn't the best, but it was fine. We're still pretty solid. Like Ladybug, it's still like, this show, everything's pretty solid. It's not like, oh, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. No, we're hitting, we're fine. Like,
this was like good. A low point, like I guess for except for like Kung Fu, like of the second half of the series, and it was still like a good episode. So I agree. Next week, super cryptic title is Guitar Villain. I wonder who's getting kumatized in this one.
Wow, Guitar Villain.
It's gonna be good, I think.
Oh man,
I'm excited. And we're making our way there.
I really hope the crocodile.
Yeah, it's the crocodile.
How is the crocodile going to be used? I need to know.
7 more episodes, I think we have. Cool.
Wow.
We're getting there. I mean, that's still 2 months, so eventually we'll catch up. And then Ladybug kind of what can you remember to let us know whether you want us to do English or French. And we're a little bit impartial here, so
we don't really care.
Maybe so. If you have a strong preference, let us know. I'm Delaney Stovall, overly animated.
Write us an impassioned speech.
Yeah, exactly. As YouTube commentators are known to do.
True.
No, it's not true. But where's my thing? Oh yeah, so you can support us. This ad-free podcast brought to you by our patrons. Support us at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to Shayna, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, and Catherine, aka Hannah, Fever, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Shane, Nathan, Fillion, Buzz Like Your Mailman, Rachel, Shannon Brown, Brian, and Cookie Cat. Coming up on the Overly Animated podcast, we're almost at new Steven Universe episodes. We have another Steven Universe roundtable next week. Typical Archer discussions, and Ladybug next week. And make sure to be on the lookout for content on Overly Animated blogs at overlyanimated.com/blog. And thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you thought. As always, in the YouTube comments on overlyanimated.com by clicking on the article and leaving a comment there on Tumblr. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.